What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and we have something to talk about. The Red Sox have made a signing. Going into winter weekends, it seemed as though almost everybody expected it to be a really busy weekend in terms of signing, in terms of trades and everything, mostly because it's the first time GMs, players, everyone has sort of met at winter weekends in person for the first time since 2019. So they expected a big one. It looks like the Red Sox have gotten ahead of the curve by signing reliever Chris Martin. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the actual contract itself, how it's structured, how it's going to work, what it could mean in terms financially for the Boston Red Sox. Then we're going to talk about the reliever himself, Chris Martin. We're going to talk about how he could fit into this Red Sox bullpen, what his career has looked like, why the Red Sox may have gone out and signed him, and we're going to talk about what this will mean for the Red Sox in 2023, as well as how their approach to the offseason may be indicated in this signing. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Let's start with the actual contract itself, because Jeff Passan just a couple of hours ago tweeted out that the Red Sox and Chris Martin were in an agreement for a contract that was going to be 2 years, $17.5 million. Now, for those of you who are wondering what the AAV, the average annual value of that contract is, it's about $8.75 million per year, which is a pretty decent salary for a reliever in Major League Baseball. Now, some of you guys may recognize Chris Martin's name. He was at one point in the Red Sox farm system. He was signed in 2011 by the Boston Red Sox to a minor league deal out of indie ball, according to Alex Spear. Now, Chris Martin never made his major league debut with the Red Sox and ended up making his major league debut with the Colorado Rockies. And since then, he's made a pretty decent name for himself, because over his 7 seasons in the big leagues, Chris Martin has a cumulative ERA of 3.34 with a 1.19 ERA plus, meaning he was about 19% more productive than the average reliever in baseball during that time, which is a pretty good number. He also had a lower FIP total in the last 7 seasons than his ERA, meaning that he got a little bit unlucky during his last 7 seasons, and that's sitting at 3.10. But what really intrigues me about Chris Martin was his 2022 season, because he had a really great 2022 season. It didn't start off fantastic though. He started the year with the Chicago Cubs, where he was okay. He sported a 4.31 ERA and a 96 ERA plus, making him about 4% less productive than the average pitcher in baseball. Not exactly terrible, not exactly great either, pretty much middle of the road. When you see ERA pluses, usually a middle of the road reliever lies somewhere between 95 and 105 ERA plus. He also had a much lower FIP than his ERA though, sitting at 3.012, which means that he was getting fairly unlucky with the Cubs, and clearly other people recognize that as well, because he was traded to the Dodgers at this year's deadline, and from there he blew up. In the last half of 2022 with the Dodgers, Chris Martin had a 1.46 ERA with a 2.90 ERA plus. For those of you keeping track at home, that is 190% more productive than the average pitcher in baseball. That is absolutely nuts. You don't see that number a lot. And what might be even more impressive than his ERA plus is the fact that his FIP somehow was still lower than his ERA. Remember, his ERA was at 1.46. His FIP was just at 1.13, meaning that even though he pitched so well for the Dodgers in the second half, he actually got a little bit unlucky with his ERA, and that could point to some progression towards a lower ERA in the future, and that to me is very impressive. There are some other things with Chris Martin too that are extremely impressive and are something to get excited about. One of them is his walk and strike per 9 numbers. Over his career, Chris Martin is kind of known as a guy, at least statistically, who doesn't walk a ton of people, but in 2022 he had a fantastic walk per 9 number. He had just 0.8 walks per 9, meaning he was walking less than 1 batter every 9 innings. That means he's got a fairly decent control over all of his pitches, and a guy who really hammers the strike zone. And speaking of the strike zone, he also has a really great K per 9. It's sitting at about right below 12, sitting at 11.9, meaning that that he was striking out 12 people for every 9 innings. Again, a guy who hammers the strike zone and gets a lot of swings and misses is exactly what this bullpen could use. What might get me even more excited than just the actual numbers themselves, the low walk rate and the high K rate, is the fact that it translates to the rest of Major League Baseball. What I mean by that is taking a look at his Baseball Savant page, which compares your percentages to the rest of your peers in baseball. Chris Martin has one of the lowest walk rates in terms of percentiles throughout the entire MLB. He's in the 100th percentile, meaning he's better at limiting walks than just about everybody in baseball, at least in the 2022 season. He also is in the 95th percentile in strikeout rate, which means that he's striking out more people than 95% of pitchers in baseball. Those are fantastic statistics and ones to get genuinely excited about. He also has a pretty decent chase rate as well. If you take a look at it here, it's not exactly the highest in all of baseball, but it's decent enough, and it means that he gets a decent amount of swings and misses on balls outside of the strike zone, which again is a great sign for a reliever. Now, if you couldn't tell already by this entire video, I'm really excited about this sign for a couple of reasons, and a couple of pretty big reasons. One, because of Chris Martin himself. Yes, he's a little bit older. Yes, there may be some regression with his statistics, but if he can be anywhere near what he was in 2022 with the Dodgers, not even only with the Dodgers, but just in general, somewhere in that 3 ERA range, you're talking about a guy who doesn't walk a lot of people. That means he's reliable out of the bullpen and gets a lot of strikeouts, which could be used as a setup man or in high leverage situations, the 6th, 7th inning type situations. He has a legitimate chance to be a staple of this Red Sox bullpen. And honestly, that's the first time I've said that since we started this channel. I don't think there's been a single signing so far in terms of the bullpen where I've said, hey, this is a guy that could be a guy on this Red Sox team for the next 2 years, right? We were a little bit excited about Diekman. That did not work out at all. This is a completely different player type. Now, the other reason I am excited about this Chris Martin signing is because of what it could mean for this Red Sox team. The Red Sox are clearly focusing on what was their biggest issue in 2022, an unreliable bullpen. We were towards the bottom of the league in reliever ERA, and it was clear during the postseason, most importantly, that you're not going to win games if you can't close them out. And so for me, the Red Sox going out and getting Chris Martin, circling a guy that they think can be a legitimate force out of this Red Sox bullpen, and going and getting him, maybe they paid a little bit over market value, but at the same time, they knew who they wanted. They went out and got him, and they think this guy can genuinely improve the bullpen. And that's all we've wanted for this basically entire season. Even before the season started, we wanted them to say, hey, this is a guy that we want on this team. We're willing to pay and get him here to make him a part of this team. And we think he will be a staple on this Red Sox team for however long his contract is. And that's exactly what they did with Chris Martin. My hope is that this does not stop here. We've seen already that they have lost out on a couple of free agents that they have wanted. And I hope that they kind of realize what is going on right now and they pivot, right? And they figure out how to get players here and how to get players they want here. Not just the players that are available, not just the players that maybe make the most monetary sense. No, the players that really are going to improve this Red Sox team. And to me, that's exactly what Chris Martin could be. Again, there are concerns with his age and whether or not he'll regress as he gets older, but 36 isn't exactly 42. He still has some pretty decent years left in him, and the Red Sox seem to agree. I'm really excited about this Chris Martin trade. I think overall, there are a lot of implications as to what this could mean for the Red Sox offseason, and just in general, I think Chris Martin will be a great addition to this Red Sox bullpen. But I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of all this? What do you think of the signing of Chris Martin? Do you think he will be a good addition? Do you think he'll be a bad addition? Are you excited? Are you not excited? And what do you think this means in terms of what the Red Sox could be planning on doing this off season? Let me know all your thoughts on Chris Martin down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end of this video, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Sea.